So we have with us Alexander Zahariev, who's the head of strategy of Sunotec from Europe. Alex, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Nice to be part of that panel, Michael. I believe that's a very interesting agenda. Looking forward to be part of it, and hopefully that will be useful to you guys. What I would be speaking shortly over the next 15 minutes is the trends, challenges, and then opportunities in the development, EPC, and O&M part of the business. So the full life cycle of a solar plant. I would share my screen with the first topics. Maybe a few words on Sunotec. Very briefly, it's probably the largest construction company, utility scale size in Europe, with roughly 12% market share as of last year. We have more than 8 gigawatts installed capacity across Europe, and last year we've managed
Alex,
to.
sorry for interrupting, but we cannot see your slides yet, so you have to share.
Share it, yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Here we go. Thanks.
Yeah. So again, we've installed last year 2.3 gigawatt installed capacity, mainly in Germany, France, Scandinavia, UK, Ireland, some other markets in the northern Europe. But apart from that, we also do full EPC, O&M, engineering, geology services, so all kind of professional services to in the engineering, procurement, construction, and then operation of the solar park. And then some topics on project development. Apart from EPC company, we are also developer in Germany and in Bulgaria, both in solar power and battery storage. So some of these topics come from experience. It's the trends in the market are very dynamic. It's changing rapidly every year practically. What is crucial for this year, and I believe most of you would share, is investment in battery storage. European electricity markets has been very volatile over the last 3 years, and this year starts with a lot of curtailment and low prices in number of markets, which is evidently a clear sign for developers where to go. It's a combination of different market environment, but also lending environment as well. Borrowing cost has increased, which makes investments a bit more tough to happen. And banks clearly now want corporate PPAs and with maximum terms in order to finance solar plants per se. Battery storage helps in this, especially if we have hybrid or co-located facilities, because that can change a very rigid solar portfolio, so solar view of the solar plant, which only produces during the middle of the day. So a battery storage co-located to the solar can help in displacing that electricity generated and practically create a quasi base load profile that can be sold to manufacturers or other off-takers, corporate off-takers, or even used as an arbitrage tool. Other trends that we've seen is that the size of plants has increased significantly. We have currently a pipeline of 12 gigawatts, and the average size of the plant is close to 80 megawatts, which is almost 65% increase over last year. Another thing that we've seen from experience is that because of building all that development portfolios in Europe, we see the big developers coming to us as a contractor and saying, let's do a strategic alliance in order for us to secure that our pipeline would be built, meaning that there is a significant bottleneck in capacity to install in Europe, and the big boys are trying to put themselves in exclusive position, or at least secure fixed capacity for them that can be delivered in the next year. This is a very unusual for the solar market and has not been seen until 1-2 years ago. And last but not least, I mean, we've seen that that level of investments that Michael just said is driving the market into one direction. Sooner or later, there will be a saturation in certain markets and in Europe as a whole. And we see that investors are trying to drive through that obstacles as well, meaning that they change their investment priorities from one market to the other. And we will see later in that presentation that while Spain, for example, was one of the prime markets in Europe, now some investors are looking at Scandinavian countries, which might sound awkward to some investors, but in some respect they provide the necessity return and mainly consumption in order for these projects to be viable. Some trends in the EPC. EPC also has changed as a role and as a position in the market. Before, we had a very clear separation. So there was a developer who was owning a project. Then there was an EPC company that was taking the risk to project manage and build that project for the developer. And usually the EPC was hiring a number of subcontractors to deliver specific parts of that project. That traditional setup is now, to a big extent, very much changed. Now it's more like very flexible roles between the lines, meaning that most of the developers have grown in size and they have invested or developed organically engineering and procurement capabilities, meaning that they prefer to save some money and procure on themselves, and also do some engineering works preliminary on them while developing the project, meaning that the EPC scope of service is now to a big extent limited to only parts of the original setup, meaning that EPC had to change in order to fit to the requirements of developers. Usually, what we see is that the thing that developers ask first is the construction side of the business, or the C of the EPC, and then the low tech delivery of certain components, mainly mounting structure, because mounting structure is paramount for the installation, and it's usually useful to ask the EPC company which mounting structure to be used in that project. But more commodity or big items like PV modules, definitely inverters and transformers, are usually procured by the very developer, which limits the scope of service of the EPC company. And on the other side, how the market has changed, bringing more projects online, and these projects being much more bigger and complex from installation point of view, have seen the approach from EPC companies also to change. Now it's paramount which companies in the market would be quicker and provide better quality. And when I say quicker, currently we try to do between 5 and 10 megawatts per build per day. Per week, which is quite hefty in certain projects. And what also has changed is because of the oversupply of projects to EPC companies, that EPC companies has become picky. So instead of picking every tender that comes to them, they started looking for clients they know in order to secure that payments will be on time, that the supply chain is organized of solar panels mainly, but also transformers and inverters, in order to procure that the installation schedule is met on time on the developer side with the supplies on a daily basis. So EPC companies also start picking clients with certain relationship that they can trust, because standing time is the biggest enemy of an EPC company. And we've seen that because of that oversupply of development projects, on the other side of the equation, also developers started looking for strategic relationship with such EPC companies that they can trust, that would provide the right quality and more importantly would meet the deadlines. And here, that's very important. Here, pricing is not that important. It's mostly timeline and quality. And we've seen also a number of our clients that are paying bonuses which are not in the contract, just for meeting the deadlines, because time is critical to investors now. It's who would install first and who would enter into the market at the right time. Again, something that I've put here as topic is that evident to everyone that the overcapacity in PV modules has driven the prices very low. Actually, they're 3 times lower than 18 months ago. And continue decreasing, which is a major challenge you will see later for the sustainability of the supply chain. But again, I trust that the Chinese companies know what they're doing. On the O&M side, it's also a changing game. First, the O&M from 3 or 5 years ago, market is totally different. It was much smaller then. With all that new capacity coming to market, we see that O&M operators have to handle much bigger portfolios, which means more data, which means more on-ground teams, which means more warehouse stock, which means more relationship with different clients in different markets. And that asks, and also which is positive, gives much more scalability and also economies of scale. That is very important because the O&M before, like 10 years ago, that was deemed like a zero maintenance business, meaning that you sign an O&M contract, but to a big extent the solar park is low maintenance asset, which is actually not the case, and it's coming. It has been coming to prominence over the last few years, and it's a very very important topic now. What we see from O&M perspective is that artificial intelligence is changing the game. It provides much more automation of the process, including using drones and robots for imaging or cleaning of the panels. We've seen a paramount trend of collecting the data coming from the parks in several directions. First, for example, big off-takers like Statkraft and others are running very precise models based on big data, and these precise models are going to be very important in the future trading of electricity. But from O&M perspective, data is very important for two aspects. One is predictive maintenance, in order to predict where maintenance might be needed ahead of schedule for the respective park. And second, it's about data would provide to O&M much better view how to manage these assets, because the O&M field now is much more competitive than 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And that competition brought margins lower. So now it's the marginal gain that the big O&M providers are trying to achieve. The marginal gain that would give them the upper hand to the competitor next door, because more and more business is coming and they want to be as profitable as possible. That brings another aspect to the table, and it's not only the traditional O&M that is being required now by clients. It's much more complex and much more fully fledged service to customers. It also provides advisory work in order of analysis of the performance, not only providing the data of the performance and doing the technical maintenance or monitoring of the plant, but also the analysis of the data and suggestions to the portfolio managers how to improve their assets, including from tuning of the parks, tuning of the communication with the off-takers and the traders in order to maximize the output of the park to the full or partial repowering of the plant in, let's say, 8 or 10 or 15 years in its life. And we see repowering as a huge opportunity for the market, because we are fully focused on what we call primary market, so investment in new assets. But that investment, I mean, we usually traditionally the solar market was boom and bust market, so lots of investment and then quick deceleration and period where there is significant lack of investments. In order that to change, in order for the industry to be sustainable, we should look also for the secondary market, meaning that primary market would increase and then decelerate. There will be certain amount of business to be done through investment in new assets here and there, because different markets differ in stage of development and saturation. But we should also focus our attention on secondary market, which is adding to existing facilities battery storage, or improving their performance, or repowering, depending of the regulation, in order to maximize again the economic output of these assets. So imagine an asset that is having 30 or 40 years of life. I mean, it makes no sense that after the 10 year, with the degradation and with the new technologies and new products that are on the market, that these investments might not come back to optimal mode with the necessary repowering. And the recipe for repowering, it's not one and the same for every country or every park. It's based on analytics. It's based on the data that is being collected by that park, and that is a primary goal for an O&M operator, to provide that service to its clients. And then some challenges and opportunities. I've marked some of this. I want to say a few words on new markets. I said, since Scandinavia might become big over the next 2-3 years, especially countries like Sweden and Finland, where land is available and cheap, and with the product cost decrease, that might become a viable project. We see also a number of new developers class, like I say, it's fragmenting the market. These are not institutional investors. These are more like smaller investors that collected some funds and have invested in between 1 and 2 gigawatt of portfolios here and there. They're not that professional. They come through the procedures quicker, but again might be tricky to manage as a client. But again, that's a very important, very interesting class of a client for the EPC companies. Battery storage, that would drive much longer term than the solar investment. I see over the next 10 years huge investment across Europe in battery storage, while grid is also improving. And last but not least, I mean, for me, that's the long-term game, is that it makes sense that when primary market development market in Europe starts to decelerate, that European companies be part of a new wave of transferring that knowledge, capacity, and technology to Africa, which is the game for the next 100 years, because it's a 1.4 billion person continent, which would double its population over the next 100 years, and the electricity consumption is 30 times lower than Europe. So it would expect huge investment in grid, but also huge investment in solar and battery. And I believe that the European industry is very well prepared, and also that's next door to Europe, to heavily invest and be part of that trend in Africa. Thank you a lot.
Thanks, Alex, for this great overview. I think we skip questions here and rather take them during our panel later. I think there's a lot. I have already a lot, but save them. And yeah, thanks again and for this great overview. And then let's continue in the panel towards the end of the event.
Sure.